All right, hello everyone. You're listening to the Make It Count podcast, the brand new small business accounting and personal finance podcast based on the simple principle that when you can account for your money, you can make a whole lot of other things in life count too. I'm Tyler Woerner, co-host with Marcus Mire, founder of Mire Group CPAs and the Total Control Accounting System, and now a podcaster. So, Marcus, this is the first episode, man. What can you tell people about... I'm going to spill the coffee. What can you tell people about what this podcast is going to be about?
Yeah, we really just want to help people in terms of understanding concepts in accounting, taxes, personal finance. Because here at our firm, we get a lot of questions, and they're great questions from clients, and it just tells us that there's a void with people understanding some of these concepts, whether it be in their personal finances or in their small business accounting, to run their business better. And so what we hope to do is cut through the jargon, give some real world examples, use your experience with a lot of these tools and working with us to help people understand their finances, do better business, and get what they want out of their business, which is to, whatever that is, make more money, spend more time with their family. That's our goal here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So this first episode, we're going to dive into basically just a primer, I guess, of like what cloud accounting is and how it can benefit your business.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool is like you kind of have really started, sort of the total control accounting system that you've got, where it's talking about bringing people out of chaos and into control of their accounting. I mean, most of that's possible because of your involvement with cloud accounting, right? So, I want to cover some of that stuff too, and kind of speak to like just everything that can change whenever you sort of embrace this cloud accounting.
Right.
So before we dive into all that, that's a podcast move, by the way. Is
segue?
Yeah. No, I just looked up podcast phrases like, before we get to that, let's talk about this. So, before we do, just give people like a quick example of like what is cloud accounting.
Yeah. So the way I would describe it is I'll tell you what it's not, and then we can talk about what it is. So most people here, if they have a small business, have ever done any accounting, went down to Office Depot or Best Buy and bought that green box on the shelf, QuickBooks, and you installed it locally. If you were really high tech, you had it on a server that was networked with other computers in your office, and you worked on that file on a server or on your desktop. Okay, so that would be like traditional on-premise desktop. Cloud is essentially those functions or that functionality in a web browser. So you would think about it the way you do online banking, right? You access your online banking via a web browser. You can perform certain functions, transfer money, pay bills, look at transactions, download. It's the same thing with cloud accounting. It's just the way you access the data, and that the data doesn't live with you per se on a server or on a local PC at your office or Mac. It lives in the cloud, which essentially just means somebody else hosts the file and gives you access to it through a web-based interface.
Yeah, which is, nowadays is pretty standard. Everybody's got, every business has something on the cloud.
Right.
Probably their Microsoft
Email,
Office, or we use Google.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's not an unfamiliar concept, but it's funny how like now we were talking about this, how it's like sort of the standard, right? If you're starting a business now, you would just assume like, oh, okay, there's got to be an app for making all this easy.
You think that, but it's and I don't. It's just what people know, right? So you and I think that a lot of times, but a lot of people don't. And for whatever reason, maybe the big software players haven't really branded themselves that well or penetrated that. But there's still a lot of people with that example I just gave you. Had a prospective new client call us the other day, or I think they submitted something through our website, and they said, we're working with somebody, and they've moved us to desktop software. Said, that's not really our thing. We have some clients that we do it for, obviously, but it's not on a lot of new clients. And then I also had another prospective client just say, we did what everybody does. We went to Best Buy and we found that green box on the shelf and we installed it.
Yeah.
And it was just like there was no to them there wasn't an alternative. And a lot of things, for those kind of people, it's just that's what they've always been conditioned to do. It's like you start a business, you go to Office Depot, you buy QuickBooks.
Yeah. So so for some it's a general unawareness, you
Right.
know, or either there we have sort of inherited this like, you know, like QuickBooks is kind of the the brand name.
It's like Kleenex. People
Yeah.
say my QuickBooks file, and it's not even a QuickBooks file.
Right. Yeah. And but for those who are aware, like what is there resistance to, you know, I mean, you mentioned the cloud. I mean,
Right.
it could be a scary word for some
It
people.
is. I mean, it's and so you know we've kind of mentioned a couple different software. We use Xero heavily. Xero is a cloud-based software. It's Xero. We love it. We use it a ton with a lot of clients. But I think what the issue is with a lot of people is just the unknown, right? And so you have to kind of peel that back and say, well, you know, what are you worried about? Because it's a valid concern, right? You've got data, but I always just try to explain, like, look, it's going to the benefits of it and the accessibility and the collaboration with us is just going to lead to a much better experience with your accountant or your advisor. But some of the hurdles are, you know, essentially, where is my data? It's in the cloud, and you know, we'd say, okay, yeah, it is hosted. It's, you know, most people are using Amazon Web Services, so they've got that company. In our example, Xero is hosting your data with Amazon. But that's no different than tons of other applications that you use. You just don't think of it that way. You're not being propositioned with a change, right? Somebody's not telling you we have to move it that way. It's already been done for you. And the example you and I were talking about earlier is online banking. Nobody came to you and said, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity to have that data locally. Your bank just moved it to the cloud and lets you access it via the web.
Yeah, and I think so, you know, not that I'm an expert in cloud computing or,
Right.
or
Me either.
cloud storage or anything, but what it's not is like, you know, say you have this screen that you can see when you log into Xero or your bank for that matter, and you can see a display like that's not just tucked away in a file
Right.
somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the cloud, in
Right.
this storage or this server. So, you know, there's some reassurance when you realize, okay, there's layers of encryption.
Right.
Even people at Xero couldn't pull your information,
Right.
you know, because
Yeah.
it's not as simple as like, oh, okay, well, my data lives like this tangible thing.
Right.
That's just, you know, tucked away in a drawer in the cloud.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you're also dealing with companies that it's in their best interest to make dang sure they protect that data.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're using reputable companies. We're by no means IT experts, but you know, you can rest assured. I mean, do your own research, obviously, but you're dealing with companies very reputable who have everything to lose by not treating your data with security and, you know, and really watching what they do and taking best practices and best measures. So we kind of take solace in that. But I think, you know, you just have to explain that to people and just kind of conveniently point out they're already using the cloud in lots of other ways that they may or may not realize.
Yeah, and if you can make that leap of like, okay, well, I'm already doing it here. I'm comfortable
Right.
with that. I'm comfortable with online banking and all the conveniences that it offers.
Yeah.
You can kind of quickly get there with your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Accounting. So yeah, I would say that most people probably once made aware would quickly jump in.
Right.
What do they stand to benefit outside of just okay, it makes it easier for their accountant maybe,
Right.
but what else do they stand to benefit?
Well, one of the biggest things is the accessibility. And so if you've got it cloud based, I mean, you can access it via any device. That's the first thing. So a lot of people, you know, we've seen where it's like, well, no, that's on my work computer and it's on the weekend and I really need something. I got to go to the office. I mean, that sounds like that's 20 years ago, but that's still the reality for a lot of people. It's at the office. I got to go get it. So that's the first thing is the accessibility for all users, whether that's your accountant you're collaborating with or your team. Being able to access it on multiple devices is really convenient. Second thing is multiple users. You know, a lot of times with a desktop software, it limits the amount of concurrent users. With cloud, it's not that way. It's like I know with Xero, it's unlimited users. So that's a big benefit. And then just the ability to pull data in. And I think we'll probably get into that a little bit about API integrations and apps. But just the ability to take your software. So you have an accounting software like Xero, and there's a specialty function of your business, whether it's point of sale or inventory, some really specialized inventory. You can go grab an application, an app that integrates with Xero to do that thing really well and sends the data in seamlessly. So you just miss out on a lot of that if you don't have the
I
cloud
know.
software.
I mean, like simple time tracking tools, like if if
Absolutely.
you're managing a staff and keeping track of their billable hours, or
Yeah, I mean, like the geofencing stuff that you get with a lot of these applications that you basically use. I know we haven't used it yet, but we've done some research on Deputy, which can kind of tell you where your employees are. You know, you can say, I know they're supposed to be at this location. They can't clock in unless they're at that location.
oh wow,
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
this all these other things that people. I mean, you can imagine the amount of VC money that's flooding in, and it's tons. It's funny, we laugh at all the VC money that's flooding into the accounting space, but I think it's because people want solutions. People want their accounting to work with things that make their business better. So in that example, you've now limited the amount of people that can sit in the parking lot and eat a bag of Doritos on the clock. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and then if you tell the story forward, then that app integrates with your time tracking, sends your data to your payroll service that ultimately integrates with Xero.
yeah. It makes so much sense. I could see why like there's a lot of new solutions because I always look at like, you know, anytime there's like a new idea on the table, I'm always kind of like, okay, is there new technology here required, or is it just taking technology that already exists and just putting it in
Right.
place? And pretty much everything that I've seen that comes through with accounting, it's just taking existing technology and just applying it there. So it's
Right.
I could see, yeah. I mean, the geofencing, all of this stuff. It's just data
Right.
that needs to be managed.
Yeah. And I'm saying geofencing. I think I got that term right, but
I
it's
think
geo.
that's-
It's geo. It's
Yeah.
Is it geolocation? My point. You get my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, it's just solving problems with software. That's a lot.
The fence is like what you create.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and
I
so
think
that-
I'm doing that right. I've heard that. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's just to your point, it's just solving a problem with an existing technology. I mean, how big a problem do people have when they think of people stealing from them on the clock? Right? If you can
Yeah.
solve that problem with a piece of software, and oh, by the way, it then integrates with your payroll and your accounting. I mean, there's things working behind the scenes that make your business better that you don't even have to touch.
Yeah. So man, just even mentioning like not just like so employee theft too.
Right.
You know, how many times has the bookkeeper
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
stolen from the company? It's
Yeah, I
bad.
mean, everybody here's heard those stories. It's always, it happens often. So, but what I would say is, I mean, now you've got the ability of a solution we pitch to a lot of clients that we use here in house is routable. So we, for the most part, don't write checks. There are a couple. I had a guy yesterday come and sell me. It was like America's Finest chocolates. You know, buy the box, the fundraiser.
I'm familiar.
Right.
$1 a bar.
Right.
Is it still $1 a bar?
It is, and I've got 120 of them in the office next door. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
But so we wrote a check to him. But for the most part, everybody that we pay as a vendor has to go through Routable. The reason for that is check fraud. So we've set up a system where we've got approval levels, and we say, okay, if anything under a certain amount, I've given somebody on my team the ability to prove that transaction. Okay. But if it's over that, it cannot be paid without it going through me. And you might say, well, that creates a bottleneck. And I would argue maybe, but I would say the security is worth it, and it's fast. I mean, I log into the Routable, I get an email that says, you got these bills to approve. I go in, I click on them. By the way, they've got the bill attached because they connect to Xero, and we've got every bill in Xero with the PDF attached. So if somebody in my team queues up something for me to pay, I've got the bill right there. It's attached in Xero, and because of the integration with Routable pulls that PDF over. So I'm looking at like your invoice, Tyler. I'm like, okay, got to pay Tyler
A lot.
a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
But those have to go. Those have the secondary approval. Those.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Of course,
Those.
yeah.
Yeah. We can't just pay
And
those.
I require a wet ink.
Right. And so it goes. And so I've got the bill right there. I can look at it, quickly see. Yep. I want to pay Tyler. I know what that service is for. Boom. Click pay, and it's done.
Yeah. So, okay, let me throw this at you. You're like CFO of a, let's say, $3 to $5 million company. All you've got is an iPhone. Like, are you freaking out, or you got it under control in this scenario? I mean, you're not only limited to an iPhone, but like,
Right.
how far could you get before you're like, okay,
You can do a lot. I mean, obviously, with your email tied to that, I just gave you the example about bill payment. You could do that. You could reconcile transactions, look at transactions. I know Xero doesn't have the reporting. Well, let me back up. So let me back up. You said iPhone?
Sure.
Yeah. You could go to the browser. I'm thinking of the app. But yeah, you could obviously go to the Xero website, pull your reports up. Look from your phone. It's a mobile optimized site. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, or if they auto-generate to your email.
Yeah. Yeah, or in that example I was giving you on the bill pay, I mean, you get an email, you can click in the link in there, pay it, done. Look at the PDF.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not an overwhelming
Right.
proposition for all you CFOs out there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and look, we're talking about, like, for what you're talking about is the convenience, right? I mean, obviously, not every bell and whistle is going to be available on looking at your phone, but that's not the point. The point is you can get something done if you need to, and it's still pretty dang efficient.
Yeah, and I know there's like different modes, right? When you're trying to do, I guess, different types of accounting. There's like task based. I know as like, okay, I've got to get this done to get compliant or whatever. But then there's also like the reporting side, like you're looking for reassurances, or you're literally looking for like, okay, wait, how much did we spend on this again?
Right.
Or you might be literally in a meeting and wrestling with ideas and decisions to make. And so the convenience, I think, is, I wouldn't understate it. You know, having that access to that data in real time is huge.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the other advantages? I mean, in terms of IT costs, earlier you were talking about like being really advanced and having it on a server somewhere in your office.
Yeah, we don't have that. I mean, we hadn't gotten into the IT cost discussion, but essentially what you're doing with any cloud is you're going on the SaaS model, software as a service, and it's a subscription model. And so, you're not paying the cost to have a server in house, right? I know here one of the decisions we made when we formed Mire Group was to say we're not going to have on-premise servers. All the applications we're using are cloud-based, and we're going to go that route, and we really don't have any IT costs. I mean, we have IT costs in the sense that we have subscriptions, but you still have a lot of those even when you got other desktop software. But what we don't have is, hey, we're down today, the server's down. We haven't had that one time. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. Man, any last comments before we wrap this up about cloud accounting? I guess one question I'd want to leave people with and the answer with is if they're kind of hearing all these benefits, like where would they start? What would you do?
Yeah, what you would do is you would say, okay, I've got my software, I've got a desktop, but I really want some more accessibility. We need it in our business, right? We got a team, we're spread out, people need access, we need to be able to do things. I would say the first thing you need to do is, do your homework. Look at the different options online. I've kind of told you Xero is our preferred, but QuickBooks Online, obviously a major player. Look at those, see what makes sense to you from a user interface, from a feature standpoint. Once you've kind of decided the route you want to go, vet out a firm that uses those software. And so find somebody that's proficient in cloud, a lot or not. I mean, just cut to the chase. A lot of firms don't use cloud, really like desktop. That's fine. They've been successful with it, but if you're going cloud, you want somebody that uses it daily. They know how it works. They know the efficiencies. They know the things to add on to it to make your life easier. I mean, here we're studying. We meet weekly as a firm. We're talking about, hey, did you see this new thing that Google's doing? Did you see this new thing that Gusto's doing? Like, did you see what Routable can do now? We're looking to add things to help your business run better. So find a firm that knows this stuff. And then once you find the firm, the next thing is, how do you convert? Do you help use somebody like us? We use a lot of software that converts a desktop file to Xero, and then who's going to do what on the go forward basis? Are you going to handle the accounting, or do you want somebody like our firm to do it for you? Once you get a plan to get it converted and cleaned up, then it just kind of goes into what do you want to do from a cost standpoint to have somebody do it for you, to have somebody watch it for you, or to have somebody just kind of there when you need them. But the cloud, but I would say the kind of there when you need them is nice, because we got lots of clients that they're doing their own books, and we help them throughout the year. They call us with questions, pop in our software, our project management software, send us a little note and say, hey, check this. And we because we have access to their file, we just hop right in and look at it, fix it. And then a lot of times what we hadn't mentioned, real quick, I'm kind of getting long-winded here, is we use Loom. So Loom is a screen capture software.
Oh, right, okay.
So like I've sent those to you before, where it's like, you're like, hey dude, how do I reconcile this? I'll do it, but I'll send you a recording of me doing it, and now you've got that recording that lives on forever.
Yeah.
And so that's another really good.
And I watch it all the time.
Yeah, you watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Until the next season of whatever I'm watching on Netflix comes out.
Right.
Well, good deal. I think that's a wrap for today. Thanks for listening to the first episode. There'll be plenty more to follow. So be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.